For years, the US government has tried to cover up mysterious sightings and discoveries. But now, the truth is no longer a secret. Here are some shocking things that they did not want us to see. One by one, the secrets of the universe are revealing themselves, just like these alien spaceships that flew into our orbit. A man noticed two similar dark objects shooting in the sky, one after the other. He wasn't sure what he was looking at, but he knew that something was really off about them. And soon, he realized that he was right, because one of them flew right over his head, and it was an alien spaceship. He managed to get a close-up view of it as it hovered over him. Then, without warning, it shot through the sky and disappeared. Mysterious sphere. Aliens and spaceships might be easier to explain than this anomaly. The man recording this video saw a mysterious black sphere floating through the air. The tiny sphere had no patterns on its surface and no other parts, but somehow it was navigating the trees on its own. Things took an even more terrifying turn when the creepy black ball started floating towards the cameraman.
Get back.
And without warning, it flew towards him. The object was so bizarre that there's no logical explanation for it. Kinda like this next one. White sphere.
Неживой души встречаешь вот такую штуку круглую.
What this Russian man found in the woods will shock you. During his hiking trip, he found an eerie object in the middle of the woods. He came across a sphere object. He didn't know where it had come from. Its surface was pale and solid, as if it was made out of white cement. However, it wasn't really cement or any other man-made material, because when he tapped it with a rod, it sounded completely hollow. The object had no visible openings, no seams, which isn't possible for a human to make.
Какой-то баллон газовый.
Mysterious cone. Sometimes you can find the strangest things even in the most ordinary places, just like what these people found. They came across a weird object shaped like a cone. It looked like it was made of metal, but the button half of it was red, and when they looked inside it, the interior was a dark gray. The people were really confused because they had never seen anything like it. Otherworldly carcass. Who knew hiking could get so mysterious? In 2019, a guy named Kohei Katawaki was hiking through the woods in Japan, and that's when he found this creepy carcass. The creature's remains were twisted at a bizarre angle, and its figure was extremely bizarre to look at. It had an unusually long spine, and on top of it was a creepy head that looked like an alien, and there were not one, but 2 rows of human-like teeth in its mouth. It wasn't possible for an ordinary animal to have such deformed limbs and talons. After the man posted this video online, it grabbed the attention of scientists all over the world, and they had only one explanation: that it was not from this world.
Obviously, one theory about this thing is that it is not of this world. There are things about it that are very E.T. by way of a giraffe. It does sort of have the head shape that a gray alien might have.
Space junk. On the 9th of July, people heard a sonic boom at around 7 a.m. and saw a bright streak of light in the sky.
People heard the sonic boom of it re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
A few days after that event, 2 Australian farmers found space junk in a rural town. After hearing about it, an astrophysicist named Dr. Brad Tucker traveled there to inspect the object. It was tall and dark, and its edges were covered with dense thread-like wires. But even after a detailed investigation, they did not have a specific answer. Their best guess was that this metallic piece belonged to Elon Musk's SpaceX, and it could be the spacecraft's fin. But, to be honest, that doesn't sound very convincing.
So this is the piece that landed on Jock? Okay.
Explanation: metallic object. People in Australia were baffled when they saw this strange metallic object on a beach. It looked like a broken part of a bigger aircraft, and there was no other debris around it. Locals had no idea how this object had ended up there, because it wasn't there on the beach the day before. This attracted the attention of many aircraft experts, but even they weren't sure what it really was. They tried to give different explanations by saying that it could be debris from a rocket launch. But even that's just a wild guess. And it's strange how such mysterious objects keep appearing day after day, with no possible explanations.
It appears to be a possible fuel tank from a rocket that was being launched in the last 12 months. It's dropped into the Indian Ocean, somewhere in the Indian Ocean, and washed up at Green Head.
Roswell Rock. Almost a decade ago, a man named Robert Ridge found a strange object in the desert sand. He was a few miles away from the famous Roswell crash site when he noticed the triangular-shaped rock with eerie markings on top of it. It had a deep brown color, and its strange patterns intrigued him the most.
I thought it was really cool when I first picked it up, then got it to the truck, brushed it off, and then I was like, in awe.
Ridge took the rock home to examine the symbols on it, and that's when he found a mysterious connection between the symbols and the rock's magnetism. What's even stranger is that the same markings were also seen in a crop circle formation from years ago. And these creepy connections tell us that the truth is much more mysterious than we think.
We found out that it has, it's pretty cool.
Mysterious metallic rectangular.
Who does this kind of stuff? Yeah.
Far into the red Rocky Mountains, a group of explorers found a strange rectangular object below them, so they decided to investigate. When they walked closer to it, they found a tall metallic object towering in the middle. It was mysteriously sticking out of the solid ground and standing completely upright. The explorers tried to make sense of it, but they still couldn't figure out who placed this bizarre metallic block in the middle of nowhere.
They've cut it in?
Mysterious, shiny object. While hiking through a forest, this man found something truly mind-bending. There was a huge, shiny object in the distance. The object's surface was unusually smooth, unlike anything seen before. It looked completely out of place. And because it was so strange, the hiker didn't try to get too close as seen in the footage. He just kept recording it from a distance, confused by its mysterious appearance. Do you think this could be a part of an ordinary spacecraft that fell here? Or something else completely? Comment what you think it could be. Flying saucer. No one was meant to see this leaked video. A man found this strange object in the desert, but after he reported it to the authorities, they tried to cover this up. It was a huge object that looked like a flying saucer with a dark, metallic body, and 2 military helicopters were carrying it with thick, long chains. They were transporting it to another place, away from everyone's eyes, as if they didn't want someone else to see it. The military were taking the UFO away for inspection and were trying to erase the evidence of its existence. Mysterious desert object. These men were out in the desert when suddenly the weather became mysteriously cold and a thick fog hid everything in sight. But there was one thing that stood out even in the hazy weather. The ground that was empty moments ago now had a mysterious object in the middle of it. It wasn't very big, but its appearance was intriguing. It had a disc-like shape with a shiny, silver body. It wasn't big enough to be a spaceship, and it wasn't an ordinary object either. What's even more surprising is the strange circumstances in which it appeared, because it seemed like the object had somehow changed the weather too. Metallic debris. Locals reported hearing a loud bang in a nearby field, so they reported it to the officials. And what they found the next day will shock you. There was a massive pile of metallic debris spread over the entire field. It looked like it belonged to an airplane, but they couldn't be so sure about it, because it was a mangled mess, and no part was intact. And shockingly, they couldn't find the pilot either. The officials said that this could be the remains of a fighter plane, but people weren't convinced by their answer, because if this was indeed a fighter plane, why didn't the officials know anything about this? And why was there no one inside it? Desert alien. This footage makes us question if we're really alone in this universe. The man recording this video was horrified when he spotted a huge spacecraft in the distance. This was not an ordinary man-made spacecraft. It was clearly a UFO. And that's not even the most surprising part, because after some time, the doors to the UFO opened and a strange life form stepped out of it. It was a tan, alien-like creature, its body almost blending into the brown sand. And before the cameraman could digest what was happening, the spaceship flew away. Seconds after that, the creature vanished too with a bright flash of light. Ocean UFO.
Be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Prada uniform.
The US government didn't want us to see this, but here it is, the clearest footage of an alien spacecraft. The government found a massive object in the ocean. At first, they thought it could be a wrecked ship or a fallen man-made spacecraft, but after getting a closer visual, they realized there was nothing ordinary about it. It was so big that even after being submerged in the water, half of its body was still above the surface. It had a lot of strange-looking windows and controls, as if this was the cockpit of this spacecraft. But that's the only thing we see before the video cuts short. Unidentified disc. When these hikers traversed deep into an old cave, they did not expect to discover this. There, once embedded in the ancient wall, was a mysterious metallic object. It had a thick disc-like body, and its surface was cracked and old. It seemed like it had been stuck in the Ricky Cave for many years. We can't see the rest of its body, but what we can see is confusing enough, because its shape did not look like an ordinary object from this world. Alienoid creature. This clip raises many questions about the creatures that live among us, or rather, creatures that don't live among us. People found a mysterious being in their village. It wasn't very big, but its appearance was eerie. It had a pale body with long and slender limbs that were spread eagled on the boulder. The hairless creature looked completely otherworldly. Its limbs didn't belong to any animal from this planet because they ended in strange claws, and its face was even creepier. The creature's head lolled to one side and its tongue was sticking out. People were so baffled by its strange appearance that they believed it to be an alien. Unexplainable metal sphere. almost a decade ago. A peculiar object fell from the sky and crashed in China. It was a huge metallic object, and there were dark gray jagged edges around it, with tinier bits of metal poking out, and inside those sharp edges was a shiny sphere. The top of the sphere looked like it was smashed from the impact, and the ground around it proved it had collided with great force. The sight was so intriguing that the locals called a special team of scientists to investigate it. They tried to come up with different possible explanations for it, but none of them seemed believable. Could it be possible for this to be an extraterrestrial object? Falling alien. This video might be proof that aliens do exist. Late at night, people noticed an unidentified glowing object falling down from the sky. They thought it was just a meteor or a drone. But the reality was something else. Because the next day, people found a mysterious creature near the seashore. An investigation team arrived at the spot where the creature had landed, and although the clip is not very clear, we can still make out its shape. Long limbs, ashy skin. Its body could surely belong to an alien. Spacecraft emergency. This mysterious spacecraft caused an emergency. It fell in the middle of the desert, and half of its body was embedded in the ground. The object was dark, shiny gray, and shaped like an egg. After its mysterious appearance, many armed soldiers were sent to its spot. The soldiers surrounded the object without lowering their defenses, because they did not know what might be inside it. But after examining it, the government never explained what it really was. Or maybe the truth is too dark to be shared with the world. Rocket debris. These locals from India were baffled when this debris landed in their village. There was a huge metallic ring and a heavy sphere. The locals believed that this debris belonged to some mysterious spacecraft, because if it was a part of an ordinary rocket, it would have disintegrated while falling down, but they were wrong. Because after the officials came and analyzed it, they revealed that the debris was from a Chinese rocket. Green hovering spacecraft. Our universe holds many secrets. And some of those secrets find their way to our skies. Just like this object that flew over this area, it was a massive, round, flying object, and its outer body was a bright green. The video appears to be quite shaky because the video was zoomed in, but we can clearly see that it was an alien spacecraft. After some moments, it froze and kept hovering in one space, and without warning, it zipped out of sight with lightning speed. Have you seen anything like this before? Creepy footage. Recently, a man moved into an old house in New York, and inside the house, he found an old camera with this strange footage. The video showed a creepy alien-like figure lying on the ground. The video is quite old and blurry, but we can see that the creature has a really dark body, and strangely, it looked like its limbs were incomplete, as if they were mutated. However, it's not clear if it was really an alien or some other equally bizarre creature, because the man has nothing else apart from this shaky footage, and so we won't know the truth either. Area 51. This is supposedly a leaked video from the top secret facility, Area 51. From the quality of the video, it looks like it's at least a few decades old. It shows a huge, mysterious spacecraft that looked eerily like an alien spaceship. The spaceship was disc-shaped with a flight deck in the middle. Soldiers were surrounding the spacecraft as they were transferring it somewhere else. It was clear that they did not want us to see this footage, because no one knows where they had taken the spaceship. And the fact that this video resurfaced after all these years proves that the government has been lying to us about UFO sightings for decades. UFO in Brazil. NASA has been unusually quiet about this incident. In 1996, the residents of Varginha claimed that they saw a real UFO, and 3 women also reported seeing an alien with veiny skin. When the story spread across the entire country, the Brazilian government decided to intervene, and that's when they tried to deceive the people. They said that the alleged alien was a mentally unstable man, and in fact, They also erased all the traces of the UFO buried deep in the ground. However, some journalists decided to investigate it, and they found parts of an alien spaceship. They transferred the spacecraft to a local museum, which attracted the attention of many people around the world. But neither NASA nor the Brazilian government has said anything about covering up the truth. Bright falling aircraft. A bright streak of light, people screaming in fear, and then, bam! People in South Africa saw a green glowing object falling from the sky, and when it crashed on the ground, there was light everywhere. This caused an emergency, and everyone rushed to the site of impact, but they were shocked to find a mysterious spacecraft on the ground. The aircraft made everyone panic because they thought it was an alien spaceship. Teams of forensics, scientists, and armed forces started their investigation. And although they didn't share much information about it, they think this object was not from Earth. Flying white object.
Pero mira que le mete luz, tenga mirror, que vea.
These UFO sightings are becoming so common that it's no longer possible to deny their existence. While he was on his vacation, he noticed an odd object flying over the greenery, and although it was hard to zoom it in from this distance, he managed to record it. It did not look like a drone or a bird because of its disc-like shape. The object was flying slowly, but a steady pace, like it was in no hurry. Then, with that same steady pace, it flew upwards until it was no longer visible. Diamond Alien Mothership. When this man looked up at the sky, he found the most shocking thing he had ever seen. A diamond-shaped object hovered in the sky above him. Its surface had a metallic sheen to it, but what's even more surprising is that there was a smaller object flying right next to it. That's when he thought that the diamond-shaped object must be an alien mothership, with a smaller UFO right next to it. However, the video cuts shortly after that, leaving us behind with only this confusing clip and a lot of questions. Unidentified metallic disc. This person discovered a mind-boggling object right in his backyard. The metallic object was shaped like a tiny UFO, but it was too small to be one. However, something was really off about it, because there were strange alien markings on its surface with lots of bumps. He even flipped it over to make sense of it, but he could find no answers. What do you think this object really was? Could it be an extraterrestrial item, or just a man-made thing? SpaceX debris.
I'm sitting here beside a piece of large space debris that is believed to come off of a SpaceX Crew Dragon service module.
A groundskeeper of the area was performing his duties in North Carolina when he came across this piece of space junk. It was a huge chunk of metal and fibers. The man didn't know what he was seeing, so he reposted it to the officials. That's when the scientists came for investigation and said that this could be a part of Elon Musk's SpaceX. Flying glacier disk. The glaciers are so intriguing, aren't they? Well, this drone captured something even more intriguing when he was flying over the snowy mountains. A thin, shiny, disc-like object was flying in the air. It was too thin to be an alien spaceship, but it wasn't an ordinary object either. Its surface was so smooth that sunlight was reflecting off of it. At the end, we can see the top of the disc clearly, but it feels too strange to be real, because we have no idea what or who was operating the mysterious object. Shocking discovery. This footage revealed what they tried to hide from us. A hiker reported seeing an eerie object in the middle of snowy woods. It was a massive white dome that seemed like a hatch of an unknown spacecraft. And after hearing about it, the military took the matter in their own hands. Many troops of soldiers immediately rushed towards the object to guard it, and they even made the area off limits for civilians. It was this secrecy and urgency that made people suspicious about the dome. Could this secrecy mean that there was a darker reality behind this object? Something that the government doesn't want us to know?